First podcast. I am Andrew. We're going to be talking about Glowing Diva set review green this time. As you guys can see, I'm doing Glowing Diva, and I am doing the starter decks as well. So we're going to skip the multicolored cards, they're staples, as I always say at the beginning of every time, and just start off with the other ones. No Borubetsu. I just call it Bear. I really like Bear. It's a level 1, it's got 2000 power, it's got a lot of weird text, that's why I call it the Weird Bear. Auto, if a Signy on your opponent's field attacks, and there's no Signy in front of that Signy, you may move this Signy to that Signy zone in front of the attacking Signy. When this Signy moves to a different zone, you may pay colorless, colorless. If you do, you can swap this Signy from a Signy in your enter zone. Okay, guys, it's a lot of weird text, but basically what it says is if there's a lane open, you can move this over into that open lane, then you can play colorless, colorless, and you can swap a Signy from the enter zone to where this bear was, and you basically enter charge the bear. Is this good? The answer is, I don't know. Are you a defensive green deck? If you are, yeah, it's okay. It does the job. But more importantly, it just kind of throws weird combat math in front of your opponent. So if you're looking to mess up some aggro starts and just kind of force them to exhume resources on this instead in order to do their gig, then I would play this. It's barely playable. Barely, because it's a bear. Even though I've got a weird penchant for it, doesn't mean that it's not going to get outpaced later down the line. There is no real support for lane switching, but if you were playing lane switching, this card becomes better. Just because then you can choose when you want to swap something out of your enter zone at any point for it. It's worth that the enter abilities of the cards activate, so you can kind of do this enter the battlefield effect deck with it, and it will work out a little bit in your favor. Grimoire, Jade, Angel. I have so many. I don't know why, but every time I open up a pack, I open up this card. So I have like 30 copies of this card and nothing else. It's got an okay life burst effect where you enter charge 2, then you can add up to 1 target Signy from your enter to your hand. So if you're enter charging, this is pretty good. The Angel decks like enter charging a little bit, so this is good. Its constant ability is, I don't know why I just got booted. Its constant ability is as long as there are 4 or more angels, there are 3 or more angels in your enter zone, then you get plus 4,000 power. 7,000 as a level 1 is very good. So, is this a good card? The answer is not right now, but later down the line, if you're playing a green angel deck, which those do exist, this card becomes dramatically better, and is very playable in those decks. So, playable is the answer, but only in angel decks. Alright, Maid Marchin, Jade, General Queen. Whenever this Signy is vanished, you may pay colorless. If you do, add target Brave from your enter zone to your hand. It's got an ability. You can pay green if you do vanish target Signy on your opponent's field. It's one of the better green life bursts. And it's 3,000 power. I would say unplayable. You're really never playing a green Brave deck. I guess you could, but it's just not really worth it. You're playing red Brave decks and white Brave decks, and I don't think you're playing green. Okay, so Vasigo, Jade, Evil, super strange. Is a staple. We'll talk about it in a second. 2,000 power. Its auto ability is when this Signy is put into the trash by a cost or an effect that you control, basically, then you will enter charge 1. Its enter ability, target Signy on your field, gets plus 3,000 power till end of turn. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Boosting power is not super awesome. It's okay. It's sometimes relevant, sometimes not. Its auto ability is what you're playing it for. When the Signy is put in the trash by your cost or effect, you get to enter charge 1. The important thing to recognize is that it's a demon. Demons do a lot of sacrificing effects. Very, very rarely in Wixoss there's a lot of sacrifice outlets, but a lot of less sacrifice fodder. This is sacrifice fodder, and that's why it's good. There needs to be more sacrifice fodder in in Wixoss, but there's very limited number right now. So this is one of the ones you kind of have to play in order for it to function. So staple in the demon decks, even today, still staple. So you've got Hadako, Phantom, Terra, Beast. Whenever the Signy attacks, if its attack power is 5,000 or more, you can enter charge 1. We're going to talk about another level 2 in just a second that kind of is a carbon copy of this, but without the conditional rider. If you can pull off the conditional rider, this card's great. If you can't pull off the conditional rider, this card's terrible. I would say playable is the answer to this one. If you're doing a team buff deck, this is playable. Otherwise, you're probably looking at this one. We're just going to skip to a level 2 for half a second here. And you're going to probably play Musuzuku. Whenever the Signy attacks, you can enter charge 1. If you're looking for a little bit of reliable enter charge where you're just sort of getting a little bit extra enter charge for your bang for your buck, this is what you want. It's not really a staple or anything. I'd say it's playable because it's always going to be okay, especially since it has no life burst, but it's never going to be outstanding. And it does get used a little bit in the future too. So let's look at some other level 2s that exist here. We have Amazonius, Jade General. Here's another begrudgingly playable one. It's only playable for its life burst. Target Signy on your opponent's field with power 7,000 or more, you can vanish. Excuse me for my sneeze. It's okay because of that life burst. If you're looking for some lane opening and you're in green, probably green-blue, then you might want to play this. It is barely playable, not utterly amazing, so that's worth mentioning. We've got some more angel synergies. Another angel on your field gets, whenever this attacks, you can enter charge 1. This card is also played in the angel decks if you're playing a green angel deck. So I'm not going to call it staple, but it's playable. Playable only in the angel decks. Pavio, Natural Planet. Whenever the Signy attacks, you can reveal the top card of your deck. Then if that card is a level 1, you can add up to 1 level 1 Signy from your enter zone to your hand. Unplayable. This card is not good. You're probably not trying to get level 1s out of your enter zone. You're probably trying to spend the level 1s in your enter zone. So the fact that it has a very conditional draw, it's just strange. Oh, I guess, I'm sorry, I read it wrong. If the card on top is a level 1 Signy, then you can add a target Signy from your enter zone to your hand, so it's a little bit different. See, I have never played this so much that it's actually still unplayable. Guys, I read the card wrong. I'm sorry about that. It is still unplayable. I just think there are better things to do with your level 2. Probably, example over here, Kayasumi, Code Maze. It has a pretty good life burst effect of enter charge 1, and then whenever the next Signy attacks this turn, you can negate that attack. It's a good way to stave off aggression. And it also has the constant ability of the Signy, as long as this is in your center zone, it gets plus 4,000 power, which means it's a 12,000 wall. And if you're looking to have the big power matters green decks, I like these effects better. I don't like the ones that give other boosts, like other Signy get a boost. The fact that you can just play this in the center and it does the job, it hits the benchmark that you're looking at, is good. The inner effect of being able to rearrange all the positions of your opponent's field is also great because it can mess up combat math, and that's really good too. It plays well on mid-range offensive, it plays well on mid-range defensive, it plays well in control decks. So this is a not staple but highly playable card that you probably could pick up a few copies of and do better for. Moving right along into your level 3s, we've got Flopsy Phantom Terra Beast. This one is playable, begrudgingly playable. It's got the life burst effect of vanish target up Signy on your opponent's field or enter charge 1. Those are always relevant. If you don't have the up, enter charging's fine. It also has the auto ability of whenever this attacks, you can choose 1. Add target Signy from your enter zone to your hand, or you can enter charge 1. That gives you card selection and your card draw. So plus attacking enter is good. It's barely playable. If you're looking for a 3-drop to fill in some stuff and you need some basically enter charging, this can do the job. Same thing with Gi, Natural Planet. It has quite an expensive enter ability. Colorless, colorless, colorless. If the cards put into the trash this way consisted of 3 or more colors, then you can vanish target Signy on your opponent's field 12,000 or more. It lane opens at the very, very end of a game for blue-green decks that struggle to lane open. Its life burst is vanish target up to Signy on your opponent's field or enter charge 1, 12,000 power. It is begrudgingly playable, barely playable, probably less playable as things go forward and blue and green gains better access to lane opening. Alright, now we're going to play some cards here that are more playable. Robin Hood Jade General Queen is a very weird card. I'm not actually going to read the text verbatim because it'll confuse you. It's 12,000 power. It basically says at the beginning of your attack phase, you can take your other Signy, the other 2 Signy that exist in your fields, you can turn them face down. When they're face down, they basically are treated as if they don't exist. Then you can attack with it. If you manage to attack with it and the opponent doesn't kill it or something, you can pay green and colorless, and then wipe the opponent's field. All 3 cards of their lanes get vanished and go into the enter zone, and then you get to attack for down a free lane. You life burst them, which is great, and then at the end of your turn, you turn your 2 Signy face up. So this way, they come back into existence. This card is playable, but you need to know what you're doing when you play it. It is only playable turn 5 and on when the opponent has exhausted all of their assists and things that they can do to interact with it. If it gets interacted, it's terrible. It's awful. You don't lose those 2 Signy that turned face down because they'll turn face up at the end of turn anyways, but you basically have put so much effort into something that did not work, and it's going to screw you later down the line. So this card excels at ending the game, but is terrible everywhere else. So if you're looking for a control win condition, this card is great. If you're not looking for a control win condition, this card is bad. So I would rate this card as playable. It's always going to be playable even in later sets, but you need to understand why this card is playable before you put it in your deck. Here's an opposite one. Quinn Code Labyrinth is staple as long as you want to play a defensive green deck. It is 10,000 power. Its ability is at the beginning of each attack phase. Yes, each attack phase, your opponent's attack phase and your attack phase. It's mandatory. You must swap 2 Signy on your opponent's field. Whenever 1 or more Signy on your opponent's field move to a different Signy zone, target Signy on your opponent's field will get negative 2,000 power till end of turn. It has a life burst. You can choose to vanish target up Signy, or you can draw a card. This is a very good defensive card. It will always mess up your opponent's combat math, which if you're looking to stall the game longer and you're using walls in your deck, this will do the job. It's also weirdly aggressive in the fact that if you have 2 of them on the field, you can basically give the equivalent of 8,000 spread out in multiples of 2,000 to different Signys. So it becomes pretty good there for removal's sake too. If you're playing a more defensive green deck, this is a staple, and you would want to consider this in the future. Here's another staple, and this is the opposite. If you're playing a more offensive green deck, this is a staple. Its auto ability is whenever this attacks, if you have moved 1 or more cards from your deck to your enter zone this turn, aka you've enter charged basically, you may pay green colorless if you do vanish target Signy on your opponent's field with 12,000 or more. That's good. It will lane clear all your level 3s that you need to. Its enter ability is up to 2 target Signy gain plus 5,000 power till end of turn. Note, it does not say your own Signy, so you can actually put this on the opponent's Signy in order to target it with its lane clearing effect, if you'd like. This is a staple. Green doesn't have very many good level 3s in the future that are coming out, and this is a good level 3. So I would play this card pretty much up until set 6, where we're at right now, so go for it. And I believe that's all of our level 3s taken care of. So now we've just got some spells to talk about. The first one to talk about is Great Snake. Love the artwork. Terrible card. It costs green and colorless. Its ability is vanish target Signy on your opponent's field with power 15,000 or more. that's basically never going to hit a target. And then its its life burst ability is vanish target Signy on your opponent's field with power 7,000 or more. That's gonna hit more targets. It's a pretty okay life burst, but I just wouldn't play this card. It's not very good. And there is actually no other green spells. I thought there was 2 for some reason, but there's only 1, and it's not good. So, guys, that is your green review for Glowing Diva and the starter decks. If you liked this podcast, consider subscribing for more set reviews in the future. Thank you.